Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised.
Greetings, passengers. Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. I'm Jody Kipe.
Oh, he's pointing at me. Why is he doing that?
I think it's because he wants you to introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm James McCarthy.
That's
Hello.
something that we owed. I'm Ethan Skinner.
And I'm Brady Davis.
Why was it like a stern pointing at from me and Ethan, but you had this like nice open hand gesture?
Because of your reactions were hilarious to me.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I don't think the audience is going to call it hilarious.
Probably because they didn't see it with their eyes. You know, something else they didn't see was when you drank that pickle juice last week.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone deserves to see that.
If you want to see us, try some psilocybin. Don't do that. I just realized it's a bad idea.
That's a terrible suggestion.
Always use hallucinogenics responsibly.
And legally. If it is not legal in your jurisdiction, don't
Allegedly,
do psilocybin.
Sure.
Yeah, probably not. So, hey, guys, what have you been up to, Ethan?
Oh, we're starting with me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had most recently made a purchase. As I've already shown Jay and Brady, I've picked up the collector's edition of the first edition Exalted book.
Yes.
It comes with a really nice book cover, really nice alt. I would say it's nice, but at the same time, it's very bland. Like it's just a blank book cover with a star on the
I like
front.
the simplicity.
That's nice.
It's very simple, yes, and very gold-lined pages of bookmark.
Like a little compass there on the front.
Mm-hmm. And it also comes with a booklet that says the making of Exalted.
Ooh,
It has
a book
a lot
within a book.
has a lot of concept art.
double books.
2 books for one.
I was reading the beginning of it, and one of the things was like, if you've never heard of Exalted, try looking at these. These are very similar to it. One of the recommendations was Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. It's very anime inspired. Like the first one in that film group is Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll, as far as the combat in that game, yes. Watch Ninja Scroll.
Yeah.
You got it, baby.
The movie.
Yeah.
Watch the movie.
And
The series is okay, but
Yeah,
watch
the series, I was about to say
movie.
the series is okay.
I know they mentioned that. I think they also. I don't think they mentioned Doom Megalopolis, but there's another one that they mentioned in there that you would not think of as an anime.
They mentioned.
They do mention Doom Megalopolis in that one? Okay.
Yes.
And the book that you have.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's the same book.
It's the same
Yeah,
book.
it's the exact same book. It's just
a really nice cover.
Yeah.
Tell the audience what Exalted is.
Yeah, you go find the information. I'm going to yank this from you very briefly.
It's not even that much of a description. I'll give it a read for you. A really terribly serious animated drama about...
We're not talking about Grave of the Fireflies. We're talking about Exalted.
No, but I'm wanting to say what the writers of this book said about it.
About Grave of the Fireflies?
Yes, and how it relates to Exalted.
This was written in 2000, the literal year 2000. So take that as you will.
Yes.
Ethan, go for it.
A really terribly serious animated drama about 2 Japanese children struggling to survive in World War II Japan. It's not really related to Exalted, but if you're reading this and going, nah, anime can't tell serious stories, you'll want to see this film. Fair warning, you will cry. And reading that, it was like, okay, well...
Again, I love the fact...
Grave of the Fireflies is very depressing.
I love the fact that in the things that inspired Exalted is Grave of the Fireflies. This is nothing like Exalted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out from the way that you have explained it to me. I was like, how does that
Yeah.
movie fit
Yeah.
with that?
The sentiment there is proper, especially when you talk about early 2000s. You look at anime, you look at it kind of the way you look at Western animation, that it has been marketed towards kids and younger, like maybe very younger adults with Dragon Ball. So the idea of it, actually, you can sit down and tell a serious story. I legitimately 100% believe you can tell a serious story with Exalted. But not Grave of the Fireflies. That's where, like, I get the sentiment. I just think they're overstepping.
That is the
Exalted
darkest.
is the fantasy setting set up by White Wolf Studios, and now I think owned by Onyx Path Publications or Productions, in which it takes place in a very anime-inspired fantasy setting. It has more to do with Final Fantasy than it does with Lord of the Rings. You are a solar exalted. Your soul has been reincarnated into the body of someone, and you are set off to do magical, mystical, and wonderful things. And this is the point where I need to now break the news to Ethan.
Oh my God.
That we actually swapped to Vampire 5th Edition for the game that we're playing.
Well, then now I know. Now I can rest easy knowing I own Exalted.
Yeah,
You
we'll
own Exalted,
eventually
right?
get to
No,
Exalted.
we are getting to Exalted, but a friend of a friend said that he wanted to run Vampire, and I haven't played in a long time, and so this moves me.
Gotcha.
And I haven't played Vampire in a long time. So.
Yeah, and I believe, and the invitation is extended to you as well, sir, as far as to play, and perhaps other people if they're interested in vampire fiction. You
Possibly.
never know.
Possibly.
You never know, but that could that's only a whisper on the other side of the glass. No one else is hearing this but the four of us and everyone who's tuned into this podcast.
Yes, definitely. The second thing that's kind of new ish. In your guys' opinions, what is probably the most famous piece of artwork, like painting?
The Mona
wise?
Lisa.
The Mona Lisa.
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably.
So what would happen if, say, someone like
You're talking about
defamished-
that. You're talking about that sock fucker that tried to destroy the Mona Lisa. Yeah.
The other day, some climate change activists decided to disguise himself as an elderly lady, walk up to the Mona Lisa and smear white cake all over the painting. And
Wonderful.
Well, first of all, what kind of carbon footprint did that cake cause? So I think he's a fake environmentalist. I'm going to say that right now.
And he said this. He said his reasoning of doing this was for the planet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the planet.
That's a little bit far away from the actual aim, but again, we are talking about it, so that is something.
That is fair. That is fair.
We are mentioning it on this prestigious podcast that is viewed by
We have
millions.
Millions?
It's millions, right?
Soon to be millions.
It's 12.
No, it's millions. It's millions.
At some point in the future, millions.
Okay.
Presently,
Yes.
we have
Millions is a number. 12 is a number. There we go. That's how that fits.
Let me say
Numbers.
By the transitive property of English, we have millions of
Real-
What the
real-
fuck are you talking about? You had me until you said English, and then I was like, "What?" I was all ready to just nod along.
If you take numbers metaphorically,
Yes.
I mean anything is
Yes.
possible.
Jay,
Well, I
what have
mean,
you been up to?
There's such thing as imaginary numbers. So.
Well, first of all, just to kind of capstone on that, I like the fact that we have 12 regular viewers.
I do too.
It
that
is
is
more
cool.
than 0. It is less
Agree.
than 13 and way less than a million.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy for everybody who stops by.
Well, I mean, I
And-
just do this because I like listening to myself talk. So.
Yeah.
Same.
Real talk. How best to put this? Brady has never listened to the podcast for the exact opposite reason he just stated.
Yes,
That's why.
I
That's
hate
why.
hearing my own voice.
That's why every episode I chop edit his stuff to make it sound like he is an evil man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
You have killed 5 children.
Oh, shit.
man.
Okay.
and
Well, I'm sure they
and-
deserved it.
and you may have diddled Marlon Brando.
Old nasty Marlon
Yes.
Brando. Oh
Yes,
shit.
yes.
Man.
I was about to say hot Marlon Brando from like Streetcar Named Desire. You know?
Stella.
Yeah.
Brady, just a little bit above the clitoris.
Oh, man. I didn't know Marlon Brando had a clitoris.
Most people didn't.
This is breaking news on Travelers on the
Oh
Omnibus.
God.
Jay, what have you been up to?
Coming up with that joke.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh,
The
okay.
whole week I've just been trying to come up with another Marlon Brando
Yeah.
joke.
He's
Have you been
leading up to
sinking
this
like a
moment.
ridiculous amount of time into a video game?
That's another omnibus.
Oh, okay.
Because- or omni route on the omnibus.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
Real
Oh.
talk. Endless Space 2. I am a fan of the Civilization series of video games, so much so that 2 episodes ago it almost showed up on my top 5 series of all time. And then I heard about this wonderful game from the YouTuber Seth Zintak. I highly recommend his video on Endless Space 2. Fantastic fun. It's a fun and informative review on the game. Bought it when it went on sale, as he told me to buy it as when it was on sale, and I follow all orders to the letter. But yeah, if you like games like Civilization, games a little bit like the Total War series, though it's more strategy and build up than it is the actual like Total Empire game. But you like a science fiction setting for it, I highly recommend Endless Space 2. If you don't like 4X games, no, because you have to
Gotcha.
have an experience and a love for these things. It is a little unassailable for a new player, in my opinion. Like there was stuff that I was trying to have to figure out, and like I said, I played all the civs going back to Civ 1 all the way through.
So is it like real time or is it more like Civilization?
It is
where it's-
Civilization.
Okay.
It's properly Civilization.
Because like
but it's
real time
round-
strategy games, I do not like, but I like Civilization okay because it's like a turn based thing, and I can more take my time.
And for me, like it's for one of two things. If I want like the hardcore sit down, think out strategy stuff, let me pump this up to like about hard or very hard AI and let's see what we can do with it. But if I just want to like build a universe and every so often like nuke a whole system, it's like, okay, I'll set it on easy and I'll just float
Like
around
Zen
and-
gaming.
and just like kind of zone out for a little bit. And it is properly a next turn game where it's like, oh, just one more turn, and then 4 hours later,
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
your grandson comes in the room. It's like, I didn't have a grandson. No, you've Mandela affected it into a generation where you did have one.
Oh shit!
It's crazy. It's a crazy game. But no, I recommend it. Again, if you are a fan of the 4X series and you're looking for something with a space theme to it, very powerful, good mechanics. I love a lot of the touches. The ones that I've played mostly are the United Empire. And it is very much Verhoeven's Starship Troopers as far as the propaganda stuff goes.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
like the opening stuff is very good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a group called the Cravers, and they're a bioweapon that was developed by the Endless, which is the precursor of Aliens of this thing.
Okay.
I don't want to go too much into the lore, but it's a cool bit of lore too. But they're the Cravers, and one of their sound lines is, "What does it sound like when you scream?" That's when you deal diplomacy with them.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like
Interesting.
I don't want you to know that, so I'm going to just fly away in my spaceship now.
Sounds like a good plan.
But yeah, if you like 4X, Endless Space 2, thumbs up.
Awesome. Brady, what you been up to?
Not really much of nothing. I have halfway attempted to try and start painting my troops from Star Wars Legion, my clone troopers. I've got them all like the white dry brushed on there, but all the black details, I got through about 1.5 of them, and then my eyes started to cross, and I was like, I can't do this shit.
Right.
So I'm gonna have to. I talked with Holder. I'm gonna have to like order like a headband magnifier because
I don't use them a lot. I use them like out of all of my painting stuff. I usually do it like once every like 4 settings. There's I think they're called refresh. They're eye drops, and it just like because your eyes will dry up, especially when you're doing that much kind of super focusing on something. They really do help whenever I feel like I got dry eyes and doing that.
Well, mine's not really like they're getting dry. It's like I'm focusing so much that like my vision's getting more blurry actually. But the more I focus, so like I need something that's magnifying it a little bit more. So I've been looking at headband magnifiers to get. So.
Real talk, like so for your my painting sessions usually when I can clear the time, it's usually about 2 to 4 hours, and for every hour I'm at it, I get up from the table about 10 minutes. Do you take breaks or do you just
I don't usually paint that long at all.
Okay.
Like maybe an hour and a half.
Okay.
So and I'll stop and for I don't know. I don't ever pay attention to when I stop, but it's just that there's like a lot with the black stuff. There's a lot of tiny details.
Well, that
on them.
and black on white is so hard to clean up if you make a
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go back. The good thing Holder told me I'm painting with black Templar.
Okay, the contrast. Okay,
and he said that's easier to cover up, so that will be
easier,
good.
Yeah, no,
because I'm
100%.
going to have to go back over every single one of them because I haven't done anything perfectly. Like the first one, has black shit all over it. So
No one does.
I'm going to have to go back over it. But
when can we expect you and me in an 800-point match?
I don't know how many points exactly I have right now. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah. So other friends of ours that are also playing the game, they got 2 starters of Separatist versus Republic, and I have an Obi-Wan to paint, so I'm very happy about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I have an Obi-Wan and an Anakin that I need to paint.
And a Padme.
Padme
Amidala should have been used more as a general or lieutenant in the Republic armies because she can make tanks say, "Hey, if someone crosses your path, shoot them." And by that I mean in the game there's this function called standby where you can tell a unit, "Hey, if something gets in front of you, shoot it." Vehicles can't do that. Padme can make vehicles do that. So
and
like
she's not a general or whatever?
No, she's
what's called an operative.
Oh.
Which is like a secondary thing more.
Think of it kind of like a freelance lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, she should have definitely been a leader or whatever the term is. Yeah.
I would like to see like a Queen Amidala model. I think that might be a cool commander.
That would be cool.
like either like in her full on like what am I not Kabuki No, I guess it was.
Yeah, it was very
It was
kabuki.
a little-
either
it
her,
was very
either her
kabuki
kabuki style
inspired.
makeup, or as right at the end of in the Battle of Theed, where she
Mm-hmm.
has like the braids and stuff.
Very
I-
Carrie
yeah.
Fisher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Princess Leia.
Yeah, it's clear who. It's very clear at the very beginning who Leia's mother is.
Right.
Yeah, you see that coming. Yeah, so that's all I've been doing. That's really not even that much, to be honest. Like I tried for for 30 minutes to do that. and
Hey
I was
man,
like,
it's
nah, fuck
something.
Yeah.
I've been reading.
that. Jody, what have you been doing?
Thanks, man. I've been.
Oh, Jody, what have you been doing?
Ethan.
Hey, Jody, what have you been doing?
You keep saying this up every time you're the host, so I just have to.
I was literally hoping Ethan wouldn't say nothing for like
It is-
about
it
5
is low-
minutes.
it is
and
low
then-
hanging fruit, yeah.
Or like
And-
wait for you to finish and then ask you what you've been
Oh
doing.
yeah, 100%.
Like he's not paying attention. What the fuck?
I've
Staring
been-
off into space.
I've been continuing to read trying to read the complete works of Junji Ito.
Oh, okay.
So I finished Gaio, I finished Uzumaki. I've talked about those, and right now I'm reading Tomie.
Okay.
Tomie is the stories are kind of told almost like it is in Uzumaki, where like in Uzumaki it's the spiral, and that's like the continuing theme in all the short stories that kind of tie the main characters together in each like short story.
To me, that's a story based entirely off a motif, which I think is again, it's brilliant. Junji
Yeah,
Ito did a great
Tomie
job
works
with it.
almost the same way. So Tomie is the main character throughout all of the stories, and there are a couple other main characters that last quite a bit in there. But it's Junji Ito; they don't all last.
Yeah.
Tomie is a girl. She starts out being like around 14, 15, high school. I have to give this away because there's no way to not give it away. Tomie is so beautiful that she causes certain people to want to kill her for how beautiful and alluring she is, which is
Okay.
like from the mindset, I guess, of a serial killer.
Yeah. That is,
Yeah, it's very disturbing. And so in the first story, she dies right away, but she comes back.
okay.
So she always comes back, and people discover her. Like there's one short story where these guys are on this like snow-filled mountain, and they find a body of a woman. She gets older as the story progresses, as the short stories progress. So it's like less weird. You have like, okay, she's 18 now, so it's it's not weird, but it's Junji Ito though, so it's really strange. But anyway, they come across a body of a woman, and they're like, oh my God, she's still alive. And so, there's like 2 or 3 guys like walking through the snow in these mountains because this one guy's trying to find his brother who's been missing for a month. And she asks one of the guys like, hey, I'm really cold. She's naked, by the way, and is in open blizzard. And she's like, hey, I'm really cold. Let me have your jacket. And the other guy's like, are you crazy? Like, it's like sub-zero temperatures. He's like, no, it'll be okay because, she's beautiful. I'll do anything she says. And gives her the jacket and gives her all of his clothes. And they're walking through the snow until he can't walk anymore. And, yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. It's really haunting. I think it's one of his earlier work, so the artistry is a lot rougher than some of his other work.
It hadn't got that Ito-ness yet.
Right, but he's got the Tomie character down like completely, but all the other characters kind of like not quite well defined. But I kind of like it.
If that's one of his earlier works, and you mentioned the Tomie, like, do you think Tomie inspires the rest of his works? Like, he took that and kind of ran with it?
I think if I'm not sure of the timeline, but if anything, I think it inspired Uzumaki as far as like the style of writing and the style of artwork that he was going for. Gaio's probably like on the end of that spectrum, not really as good as the other two. Tomie is by far the longest story. It's like at somewhere around 700 pages, 600 or 700 pages or something like that. Uzumaki was like just shorter than that. So I'm almost finished with it. I'm sure it's going to end badly as far as the characters go, just like any of the other Junji Ito stuff. And I'm really digging it. I couldn't put it down. I read like 400 or 500 pages in one sitting, so it was really good. But yeah, pretty much like every story is revolved around her and what she does. There's one more thing I'll say. Like there's this one story where this high school girl finds a little box of hair and it's the most beautiful hair she's ever found. She found it in her father's room, and her father's like, "Where's the hair at? I need the hair." It's Tomei's hair, right? Her father murdered Tomei and has her hair. And so her and her friend find the hair, and her friend like, let me see some of that hair, and cuts some of the hair and takes it home and puts it on her head, and it grows out as though it was like her normal hair, and all of her regular hair went away, and then she started looking more and more like Tomei. You see where this is going? Yeah. And at some point, hair starts coming out of her face.
Oh.
So, it's
Very unsettling.
really unsettling stuff. You're like, horror.
Again, I reference, I want to say it's black hair from Qui-Gon, from the movie Qui-Gon.
Right.
I don't believe that's where it started for Japanese storytelling.
Right,
But as
like
far
folklore.
but as far as the first like major depiction of that,
Right.
I think that is where that comes from.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. So yeah, that is definitely a recurring thing.
For sure. And then I've watched the first part of the new season of Stranger Things.
Oh, okay. I haven't gotten around to that yet.
There's a lot going on.
I've heard that there's a lot. There is, I've heard
Because they ended the third season. This is not going to be a major spoiler, really. They end the third season with most of the characters being separated from each other.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 groups of people that are like on other sides of the United States and stuff. And so
And there's someone even further than that.
yeah, right. There's a lot of that going on. So they have multiple stories going on at one time about everybody and what their lives are going like, and all. So everything's kind of normal for the first episode until you get to the end of the first episode, then things start getting weird. And then the second episode, somebody dies. You know, not a main character or anything, but it sets up for what's happening. And then, of course, there is another thing that's developing. It's bleeding from the inside out,
Upside down.
Upside down. Yeah, from the upside down. There's something else that's bleeding through somewhere, and so it's causing things in Hawkins to get weird again, even though that shouldn't be happening anymore.
I will say I did see the trailer for season 4, and like you had the Demogorgon from season 1, the Mind Flayer from 2 and 3. Like, this new thing just looks straight up terrible. It almost looks like something out of like Hellraiser. Almost.
It's definitely got some like either Hellraiser or like something from the Constantine movie. As far as like the hellscape of Constantine, it's got that look to it.
And I believe what they call it in the show is like Vecna.
Yeah, it's called Vecna.
Yeah,
Well,
Vecna.
well, I mean, it's the D&D reference.
Yeah.
it's a D&D
But
reference.
just seeing it, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. It's a very interesting looking character. I don't want to go into details on what it looks like, but yeah. So and it's affecting people in a different way compared to all the other monsters have been pretty much like physical for the most part, with the exception of the Mind Flayer thing. But it's starting to affect multiple people, not just like one person. It's not it's not like what was the name, Bill, whatever, the main character from the first season. Will. That's it. Yeah, one of those names. Yeah, Will.
I'm excited to see season 4.
It's in 2 parts right now. They've got like the first part of it this season, and the next part's dropping in like a couple of weeks or something like that.
Yeah, they did that same thing with Ozark.
Yeah,
I guess that's the thing that they're going to do now.
They're learning that. I thought they were going to actually slow bleed a little bit more on the episodes. Release 3 and then release 3.
They really don't. It feels like they don't want to stop the binge watching thing, which, in all honesty, like the binge watching is one of the reasons why they're not doing so well right now.
Right.
Yeah, because get your free month, finish whatever you wanted to look at, and then you're done with it.
Yeah, and then you just get another subscription when it's time.
When it's time to watch something.
But
Well,
I think like with this cast, because I think the Duffer Brothers are going to do some other Stranger Things stuff outside of Hawkins with another cast whenever this whole thing wraps up, and I think they have one more season after this.
Yeah, it's
one.
going to be five seasons,
and then
ending.
they're going to like do a hard reset with like another part of the world somewhere, maybe, or another part of the United States with different characters.
See, the way season 3 ended, I thought this would be and I kind of hoped that this would be the final season. Not because of any kind of hatred or burnout, but because it's that Empire Strikes Back of the entire party is like split up, and they've all got separate things that they've got to do, or things that they have to come back from. And to me, like, you can only then end it.
It could have been the third season could have been the end of the show.
It could have
and it would have been fine.
But I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, they planned for 5 seasons. Like when they started this, they planned for 5 seasons.
They did.
So I don't think anything is going to be paced badly because they were setting out from the beginning to want to do this many seasons.
Yeah.
So they have the story for that.
And if it wasn't for
seasons.
COVID, we would have already had season 4, a year ago.
Yeah, they're going to have to hurry up because those kids are getting quite old.
Yeah, the jump is very distracting on their age because they're in high school and some of them look like they should be in college.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's what I've been doing.
I want to. You talking about finishing reading some stuff made me remember something that I wanted to talk about real quick. And if y'all aren't okay, I can just save it till next.
No, go for it.
Go for
No,
it.
let the wind take you, man. Go
Okay,
ahead.
cool. I recently finished kind of rereading because the first time I listened to it was in audio form, the book After the Revolution, which is a book by Robert Evans, who is mostly known right now for being a podcaster who does the podcast Behind the Bastards. He's also done some journalism work. And this is his
Isn't
first.
there another called Worst Year Ever? Or something?
He does Worst Year Ever. I don't know if Worst Year Ever is still even happening because I think that they're kind of burnt out of that. Because
that's an easy topic to get.
Well,
burned
the
out
other
on.
guys that they do the podcast with, they also do another news podcast. So the way they kind of talked in that last episode, they didn't necessarily want to do this anymore. But I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Well, again, your subject matter is let's talk about downer shit for an hour.
Yeah. Which it started out as just being a show about the 2020 election, and then that was it. But anyway, he does the podcast Behind the Bastards. It's a really, really good podcast. Go listen to it. He also does he's done a lot of journalistic work. He used to write for cracked.com, which is a website that was very, I used to read a lot, all the articles and get up with the people. He's just one of those people who were from that. And he wrote this sci-fi novel it's called After the Revolution because it takes place in 2070 or something like that. And around 2040 or 2050, there was a revolution in America that basically broke America up. So you have the Northeast is the American Federation, which is kind of a holdover from America. You have the South is the United Christian States. Texas is its own thing, but there's also several different factions. There's the Texas Republic, but then Austin is its own independent state. But then there's a Heavenly Kingdom that's encroaching, and they're basically Christo-fascist. They are very fundamentalist with their religion, and they're kill the non-believers and shit like that. And it's about 3 people who get kind of caught up in all of this. One guy is Manny, who is a 20-year-old kid who is a stringer, kind of getting people in and out around the because there's basically a war in Texas between them and the Texas Republic, the Heavenly Kingdom. And he's a stringer, and there's a major push from the Heavenly Kingdom, and he gets caught up in that. And then there's this other guy named Roland, who is a post-human. He's basically had so many modifications to his body that he is no longer what we think of as human. He gets caught up into that because he gets hired by somebody who he can't remember because his memories are gone to do a job. And then you've got Sasha, who is a girl from the American Federation who leaves her home to join the Heavenly Kingdom because she's kind of gotten caught up in their propaganda. It's a really interesting world that he creates. Robert Evans his ideologies lean leftist, so he talks a lot about different things about that. One of the funny things is there's a lot of post-humans, and all of them are constantly getting drunk and high and everything because you have all of these sensory things, and they can all handle it way more. Roland is literally constantly downing any kind of drug. That's one of the things that makes him kind of a funny character to read. It is a very, very interesting book. Like I said, I reread it. He released it in audio form at first on his podcast under Behind the Bastards. And you can read that and you can watch that for free. But I liked it so much, and I like Robert Evans, that I paid for the book and finally reread it. So that's good. And so check that out. You can find it. I want to say somewhere if you look up After the Revolution, he actually released all of it online. It's just I like him enough and I like the book enough that I basically bought it.
It's a physical book or a PDF?
It's a physical book.
Okay,
but
cool.
You can get it in PDF form for free, I think.
Rad.
Yeah, or audio version. You can just look up After the Revolution.
Yeah, check that out. Sounds very interesting. I like I like alternate history stuff anyway, and even though it's like a futuristic kind of thing, you still have like a little bit of that kind of feel to it.
Yeah, it's really cool because there is a lot of history in there. It's one of those things that it takes it forward, but you can tell that there are a lot of things that happened in this world, and you just kind of pick it up as you go. So that's one thing that I really like in a book, when they really get you into that world, and it's very, very interesting.
Good basis for storytelling.
Yeah,
awesome.
Sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Oh,
Yeah, and I want to say he's writing the second book in the
okay.
world. I don't know what it's going to be called or anything, but I think he's writing it.
Rad.
Okay.
All right. Well, now it's part of the show where we would normally have customer feedback, but Jay,
Passenger
Passenger.
feedback.
yeah.
You don't have to pay 1 red cent to jump on this
did I
bus.
say customer
Yeah.
feedback?
Yes, you did.
Customer feedback.
my
We're not
bad.
Walmart.
My bad.
Hello. Welcome to loss prevention.
Oh, God. I worked at Walmart. Everybody in loss prevention are assholes.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, they have to deal with angry customers.
Well, yeah.
I would be an asshole too.
But even the ones who are like high enough that they don't really have to, they're still assholes.
because they don't want to have to deal with it. They came through those trenches. Now they have a head out of it and they're being dragged back in. Yeah, I'd be mean too. It's like, you driving me back in this shit? You driving me back in this shit, okay? It's like, yeah, I have a problem. Yeah, whatever. And then you just fucking walk away. Thank you, Walmart. Walmart doesn't do that. Walmart actually has some nicer people. I had to go to Walmart today to buy some Lysol. Don't ask why.
Brady looks like he's about to.
You
call
don't have to
out
be.
on all
No,
the-
you don't have to be nice to Walmart. Walmart is terrible, but it's ubiquitous, so we all have to fucking use it.
Shop local, everyone.
Not this episode, but you need to tell them the one, because you used to work there a long time ago, and you did a thing, and it was funny to me, and I want to hear that story one day, but not today. Not today.
I'm not the person who usually tells that story. Somebody
Yeah.
else has to tell
There
that
you go.
story.
We
And that's
ma- we
probably
ma-
not going to happen.
Now I'm intrigued.
I'll see how much money it will take to get him back on. I'm just
Oh my goodness.
saying. Because it's a great story. I'm just saying. So yeah, with that all being said, welcome to Passenger Feedback. No direct feedback this week. However, we must collect on a promise that we made 2 weeks ago. And by we, I mean me.
Yeah, I was about to say, it was all Jay.
It's
He made
all
this
you,
promise.
buddy.
Regular viewer of the show, Megan, a.k.a. Goon, asked us to read her a story. And, well, none of these guys want to read it, so I will read. I've said I would promise 2 weeks later we're going to read The Cat in the Hat. And so, ladies and gentlemen, now an excerpt from The Cat in the Hat AU. No, it does not mean Auckland. No, it does not mean Australia. AU stands for Abridged and Updated. So it's a more modern times Cat in the Hat. The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play. So we sat in the house all that cold, cold, wet day. I sat there with Sally. We sat there, we two. And I said, go, 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 shorty. It's your birthday. We're going to party like it's your birthday. We're going to sip a cardi like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give a fuck. It's not your birthday. So all we could do was sit, 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 sit. And we did not like it, not one little bit. And then something went bump. How that bump made us jump. We looked. Then we saw him step in on the mat. We looked and we saw him, the Cat in the Hat. And he said to us, you can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. Look, mommy, I got the X if you're into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug if you're into getting rubbed. I know it is wet and the sun is not sunny, but we can have lots of good fun that is funny. That's an excerpt from the abridged and updated Cat in the Hat. Megan, thank you very much for this
That
idea.
I just want to say that brings me back to my childhood.
There you go. Yeah.
You can find Travelers on the Omnibus and all of your streaming platforms for podcasts that are listened to and heard, except for Amazon and what was the other one?
We're working on that, so that might not be true anymore. So
Okay.
currently, as of this recording, we are available on Anchor, Spotify, Google Play Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome.
There you go.
All those good places.
Well, that being said, gentlemen, I think it's time for us to go into our main topic.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I can tell.
You're just mad that you have to team up with Ethan.
All right, so before the Reagan administration,
Hey, hang on a second. Why do you say it like it's a bad thing that he's teaming up with
I'm
me?
not because y'all's history is what can y'all coexist?
Y'all's history. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
Whoa,
Y'all's
whoa,
his-
whoa, whoa.
Okay, so there was this band. They were called Shinedown.
oh,
we're gonna
And they
relitigate
played-
this.
They played
God.
and they make music.
I like how
Do they?
everybody continually acts like I'm the only one who shat on Shinedown.
It gave me a headache, and I was very vocal about it.
I love the fact that you went through a 5-minute. Ethan, I'm sorry. I know, and I'm not here to yucky, yummy, yums, and then shine down the shit.
As much as I give Brady shit about shitting on Shinedown, I can agree that he is a good man. He is a good man with solid opinions.
I just wanted to make it very clear.
I love how your fingers are crossed as you're saying that.
I used to be,
Oh, would you look at that?
Yeah, there you go.
believe it or not, I used to be an asshole. And
Yeah,
I was very opinionated, and I thought that my opinions were very correct because they were my opinions. And I'm trying not to be like that anymore. I'm trying to make people not think that their opinions are shit just because they have shit opinions.
But why do you say we can't coexist?
Because it's a wrestling term, and we watched wrestling tonight. See, y'all are a tag team right now. You guys are like the bear country of Travelers on
Oh,
the Omnibus.
fuck you.
Hang on.
Fuck you.
Wow.
I didn't know that would hit that hard. Holy shit.
Because I get that reference,
Okay,
and that is an insult.
Okay, I'll upgrade you. You guys are the acclaimed of Travelers
Oh,
on the
fuck
Omnibus.
No.
What tag team would you like to be?
I don't know.
And to see if you could coexist.
Before 1981, before the Reagan administration,
I think
they
we need to
really-
resolve this. I legitimately think
do
we need
you?
to resolve just a minute. We can
No,
we can
no,
cut-
Don't you always like how we do this when you're the one who
It's fine.
when you're the one
You're
who's
the one who's
hosting?
always bragging about. It's like I hated this one RPG I was in, so I started lighting shit on fire and throwing shit at people.
100%.
Yeah,
Resolve.
Okay. Hold on. You
We're gonna
guys-
have another 2-hour
you got-
podcast.
no,
aren't we?
Yep.
It
sure
is
are.
aiming like that.
You have to
10
accept
more
this.
minutes of this.
You guys are the pre-title holding Jurassic Express. Only
But they never didn't have to coexist.
Only neither of you can be Luchasaurus.
You both have to be Marco.
One of you has to be Marco.
You both have to be Marco Stunt.
No, you don't have. No. I like.
We know Ethan's Marco stunt. Come on.
Now, Jody, wrangle it back.
All right. Before the Reagan administration in the early 80s, before he was sworn in, there were certain codes that were applied to advertising to children directly, specifically for Saturday morning cartoons, back in the day when television actually mattered and existed. And that was the only way that children actually watched cartoons on Saturday mornings before they were shown every day later on in the late 80s to early 90s. So
And that has to do something with, how children are impressionable and everything.
the whole impressionable thing. Which makes me very wonder why there weren't more serial-based cartoons, to be honest with you. But I digress. So when Reagan was sworn in, a lot of these regulations and codes, mainly ethical and moral codes, were completely lifted, and advertisers were allowed to directly advertise to children during the early mornings of Saturday morning cartoons, which enabled toy makers to decide, hey, why don't we make 30-minute commercials for our toys?
Yeah.
And so thus the beginning of the directly advertising to children via toy lines with cartoons.
It definitely starts on Saturday mornings, but it also got to the point where every day, like especially at least here down on the coast, like between I would say about 3 and 5, you had those shows appearing on a daily basis. Monday through Friday as well.
That happened through syndication and through cable television, probably in the mid to late 80s, I would imagine.
Yeah, but that's how pernicious it got.
It got
where
pretty.
it started and where it got to. Yeah,
I know by the 90s, it was not even like syndication stuff. It was
Right.
like these were cartoons that were made for after school.
And that is pretty much what killed Saturday morning cartoons. When they for the most part, I would say that.
I would say having Saturday morning cartoons Monday through Friday definitely did.
Well, Cartoon Network didn't help them any.
Cartoon Network didn't help, but I don't remember watching a single episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on Saturday. I remember it Monday through Friday.
But it started
I
on
always
Saturday.
remembered it on Saturdays. That's
it
when
started.
I watched.
Yeah, it started on Saturdays, much like everything else. But I think G.I. Joe was a daily. I think it was one of the
G.I.
first.
Joe was a daily.
It was one of the first dailies.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became a daily.
It became a daily, but first it was a weekly. What we're talking about, folks, is toys to cartoons or cartoons to toys. Toys that had cartoon tie-ins and via the other way around.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and break everybody's hearts. Hey, you remember all of the cartoons that you watched as a child that you had toys of? All of those were only made for to sell you toys. That was it. That's the only reason that they were made. Sorry.
Yeah, they weren't made to make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside and, give you aspirations to be better than you were.
Mm-hmm.
They were just
But knowledge is power.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Capitalism, baby.
That's right. In fact,
$100 bill, yo.
Yeah.
in fact, that's one of the reasons. I'll get into mine later. But anyway,
We're kind of bringing it up a little bit right
We-
here.
we-
Pork chop sandwiches.
that's true. All right, I'll go ahead and go into mine real quick. Mine is G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe started, of course, as a toy line in the 70s. They had I think 12-inch figures or something like that. Failed miserably, didn't do very well. And then they decided to shrink the toys down to about 3 inches and make a cartoon. And that worked really well.
Yep.
G.I. Joe, the effects of that is still important to this day as far as how to do a franchise properly, with the exception of the live action films. But that's my personal opinion only. Multiple characters that had different personalities. The show was interesting even as an adult watching that show sometimes, especially the 2 brainwashing episodes. One with Shipwreck, where at one point Shipwreck is looking at his family and they're melting in front of his face because he's being.
That was true horror.
That was really fucked up. And then the one where Flint goes to see his hometown and they're all brainwashed.
The main thing I remember about G.I. Joe, because I didn't really watch it a lot as a child. I had some G.I. Joes, but I didn't really get into it all that much. I of course thought Snake Eyes was the coolest thing, but
Snake Eyes was the coolest dude.
But I never really watched too much of it. But I did watch
hold on. Quick poll. Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow?
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes.
No opinion.
That's why we hate you. And Snake Eyes. Apparently, it was a little bit. See, there is a contingent. However,
They
that
invented Storm
Shadow.
Shadow because Snake Eyes was there and needed an adversary that was specific to Snake Eyes.
But what I watched a lot was the G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah, the movie.
Which is batshit insane.
It's bonkers.
Because there's hey guys, there's a snake people.
Yeah.
hey, Cobra Commander, let's turn him into an actual
Let's
cobra.
turn him into a fucking cobra.
Yeah.
Let me throw a snake spear and almost kill Duke.
Cobra Commander was the best villain because he was completely inept at doing anything whatsoever, and he had the most hilarious shrill voice. Jay, you could do a Cobra Commander, right?
Oh man, let's see. Let's see. Curse you, Joes! Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
Imagine that with a little bit of helium in it, and that would definitely be. He was so bad at being a leader that they. I don't even remember. I think the movies where they found Serpentor, wasn't it? I think that's where he made his debut.
I think there were 2. The first one was where they got rid of Cobra Commander by turning him into a snake.
Yeah,
And
that was
then
in the movie.
second
That was in the
one,
movie.
Cobra Commander came back and took out Serpentor.
Right.
So it was just a revolving door of leadership.
Serpentor, by the way, was a summoned Egyptian god.
Yeah.
They summoned him
Yeah.
to lead this gang of terrorists to take over and destroy G.I. Joe so they could take over America and implement their own ideals upon Americans.
Yeah,
Okay.
it got really, really.
And then they turned Cobra Commander into an actual snake.
It started out as pretty simple because it was okay, Cobra is a terrorist group who's doing all these terrorist things, and
Right.
G.I. Joe is there to stop him. And,
Right.
and they each have specialized people. And then it's nah, we're going to throw snake people in here.
Most
And they're
of-
trying to turn everybody into snake people.
Most of the episodes of G.I. Joe, much like most of the episodes of a lot of these shows, wasn't linear. A lot of the time you had just an episode here that didn't have anything to do with anything else. But then, they got to the movie and they had to figure out, how do we make this interesting? And they did. By the way, there's an episode of G.I. Joe where Dusty, a character, by the way, which nobody cared about and didn't do anything, he wore desert gear, and I don't remember what he did actually functionally. But you see, Dusty started working for Cobra. The reason why Dusty started working for Cobra is because his mother was in the hospital and he needed to pay his medical bills. I guess G.I. Joe doesn't pay him any money.
G.I. Joe is a voluntary
And-
service.
And so you get to the episode. It's like, I think Dusty is. I think he's turning on the Joes. He's being part of Cobra Command. And then you find out, swerve, he's a double agent.
Oh,
He's
shit.
actually been working for Joe the whole time. Like Duke's like on the phone with Cobra Commander. And he's like, haha, we got you. Dusty's been on our side the whole time. We've been paying the hospital bills this whole time.
Oh shit.
And then one of the other very.
So what do they do with Cobra's money?
I don't know.
Did they invest it in crypto?
I think
Possibly.
I think it was actually Cobra had its own currency.
Oh, it's like bison bucks.
Yeah, it was like bison
Once
bucks.
I kidnap the Queen of England, $1 bison will be equal to 5 British pounds.
And one of the
He's
best,
literally coming up with that line right there as he's saying it.
one of the best episodes of G.I. Joe that I remember because it's so memorable because of how stupid it is. Is they're at their base. G.I. Joe's at their base. They're just chilling out. Like half the Joes are like off doing a mission, so there's like a handful of them there, and they keep getting phone calls, and they answer the phone, and they get this message every time they answer the phone: the Viper is coming. That's all they get. The Viper is coming. And like there's all this tension built up for the whole episode, like it's a big baddie that Cobra Commander has like hired to assassinate the Joes. And then one day, near the end of the episode, he shows up and he's got a wiper. He's like, I'm the Viper. I'm here to wipe your windows.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm not kidding. That's an episode.
What was the Cobra girl that was like secretly banging one of the Joes?
Scarlet?
Was it? No, it wasn't. No, Scarlet was
Scarlet
a Joe.
was a Joe.
No, I think it was Zartana was
Oh.
banging Shipwreck or something.
It wasn't Zartana. It was wasn't her name wasn't Scarlet? Oh, Baroness. The Baroness.
Was it
It
the
was. I
Baroness?
think it was the Baroness.
I don't know.
And Destro got really peeved about it because
Also, real quick, they weren't banging.
Right.
It was suggested banging.
it was very
yes.
heavily.
This was still the Reagan
suggested.
80s.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, like the Joes like shot regular guns, but lasers came out because they couldn't show bullets coming out of the guns
Yep.
because it was a cartoon for kids.
In the 80s.
In the 80s. And another thing they had to do was even though all these regulations got lifted, there were parental guidance councils that were like pissed that these kids were being fed like junk for education. So they were forced to have 30-second PSAs at the end of every episode after season 1.
Yeah.
So that's where you get ham
That's-
sandwiches.
Yeah, and that's where you get
Pork
Chop sandwiches.
what is it? What was the thing that they already knowledge is power?
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that
The
comes
more,
from.
that's the more you know.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Yeah. That's
Knowledge
I'm
is
sorry.
power is something else.
Knowledge is power is the G.I. Joe stuff. The more you know is just the NBC General stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the one that
with
had
the star with
the
the
star
rainbow.
that comes
Yeah,
over.
not the more you know, but yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, one thing I do, well, a couple of things I
I
want to
got
mention.
one more too, but go ahead.
There's like I said, I didn't really have the G.I. Joes that much, but there are like a lot of like toys and sets that were G.I. Joe.
The
that a lot of
vehicles.
people, the vehicles.
Oh man, yeah.
Like the big thing that every kid wanted was the aircraft
The
carrier.
flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is like the size of you. Like you as a child, it is longer than you.
It's literally 6 feet long
Yes. Yeah.
and almost 2 feet wide. There was an F-14 that they had as a standalone toy that was like about 8 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
2 of those could fit on top of the flag.
Yeah, it was a humongous
And I think
like
another one fit inside of it.
Probably.
I think
like
that's an
luxury,
internal hanger, yeah.
luxury toy. That there's-
Yeah, almost all those really massive sets were like about $100. Even that one was like around $100
In 80s money.
when
Yeah.
it came out. Well, I mean, the Cobra Command was also $100. These were all like $100 in 80s money. Now they're like, if you have a flag in box, it's like $1,500.
Yeah, they get ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
But there's one clip from one episode. It's actually the episode where Flint's whole entire town gets brainwashed, and there's a scene where the Cobra Commanders actually got Flint and somebody else I can't remember trapped in a room, and the room is filling up with water, and someone turns to Cobra Commander and goes, "You do realize that this is going to kill them?" And he goes, "Yes, delicious."
Cobra Commander's great.
Cobra Commander, delicious.
So recently they've actually rebooted the G.I. Joe toys in a series of, I'm terrible at this, whatever the regular size figures are now, like, was it 12, 13 inches, something like that?
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Don't write an email. I don't care.
But if you do want to write an email, travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com.
I like it.
Again, that's travelers, 1L, all one word is travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com. Continue.
Just know that Jay is probably going to be the one that reads it, and I'm not. So if it's,
I'll read it to him.
Yeah,
in
fine.
much the same way I read Cat in the Hat.
Yes. But they've rebooted them, and they the figures are actually pretty cool. But there is one that I got. It's Prophet Director Destro. This is Destro that is 80s as fuck. Like he has his head is gold. He has like cheetah print cape. He comes with sunglasses and a gold briefcase, and he has a stack of money that is burning. So you can have him look like that. Like he looks awesome. It looks so cheesy, but it's so awesome.
Literally metal as fuck.
Yeah, it's really it's a really, really cool
They ever
figure.
explain like his background of why he was like encased in metal?
You know what? If they did, I don't want to know.
Yeah,
It's
I
just-
don't.
it's
in the
just
first
better
movie, it's
mystery.
nanobots.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Not the original cartoon movie.
Right,
The
the
actual live action movie that was terrible.
Yeah.
The second one wasn't absolutely terrible. It was just
I
not
liked
terrible to watch
I
once.
liked how everyone didn't like that Channing Tatum was coming. Be like, don't worry, we're filming some more scenes with him, and it was just like
It was
him.
just to kill him.
It was him and The Rock playing video games.
Yeah.
And then they just killed him anyway.
Yeah.
It's like the beginning of Mortal Kombat 2 where they're like, just a Johnny Cage guy, gotta go.
Yeah, fuck this guy.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're not gonna have Lyndon Ashby come back for it, like that was the starkest. Like,
Well, they changed Raiden, and it was what's his name, Highlander.
No, it's not.
okay, no. In the original, it was Christopher.
Right.
Christopher
Christopher Lambert was in the
Christopher
first
Lambert.
one.
And then
changed it
they
to
changed
James Remar.
to
Yes.
some
Right.
dude.
Yeah,
Right,
No. James Remar. He was in the Warriors. Do not diss him.
He was also in Tales
Sure.
from the Dark Side.
He got
movie.
He's no Christopher Lambert.
He got handcuffed to a bench by Mercedes Rule in the Warriors.
Okay.
And I will not have you discredit that. Watch the Warriors.
He's no Christopher Lambert.
Don't watch the second
So-
Mortal Kombat movie.
Fast fact before we start talking about
Wow,
He-Man.
we're all over the
No,
place.
we're
yeah,
talking
we
about
are.
things with swords. We're going to go back to talking about things with
Okay.
swords. But Christopher Lambert was legally blind. He almost cut his own hand off, and he almost cut Sean Connery's hand off doing sword scenes.
Oh, Christopher Lambert is awesome.
Yeah.
Watch Highlander.
Yeah.
So,
In order to win the Earth Realm, the Emperor and his sorcerer Shang Tsung have to win 10 Mortal Kombat.
speaking of cutting people's fingers off, Jay,
They have won 9. This will be the 10th tournament. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It all comes down to one thing. We talk about vanity toys. We talk about that one. Like the flag was probably the number one of that. Number 2, if I were to say, would probably be the Lego monorail. That was another one. And then number 3 would be Castle Grayskull.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
This guy owned Castle
Oh,
Grayskull,
hell yeah.
and I had Snake Mountain.
I was about to
Yes.
ask, did you have
Snake
Snake
Mountain.
And
Mountain?
Snake
as well?
Mountain, and oh my god, the Snake Mountain had a microphone. You talk into it and make your voice sound. It wouldn't make you sound like Skeletor though. It would just give you like this weird echo. You sounded even darker than Skeletor.
Okay.
And you were a 7-year-old boy.
Okay.
That was very cool. But yeah, no, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, of course, following the plight of Prince Adam of Eternia. Eternia is Mortal Kombat. That's where there we
Yeah.
go. Eternia, and people is like, oh, what a foppish cuck this motherfucker is. That's what they're all saying. Man at Arms, Tila, Triclops.
Yeah.
I wanted Triclops to be a good guy because he's green. It's my favorite color. If you're all green, you can't be bad. Kermit the Frog, 100% good guy, neutral good. He will break some laws. But Triclops, also green, bad guy. I couldn't understand it. I still to this day do not understand. If you're all green, you should be a good guy. But yeah. And then, of course, I'll get you, He-Man.
It sounds much like Cobra Commander.
Yeah, I know.
They
They
are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Skeletor and Cobra Commander the same guy.
Man, he was
Possibly.
getting 2 checks.
Yeah, he was.
Like, think about that. Oh, man, think about what if they consolidated that and paid him less money?
Ooh,
Those motherfuckers.
that's rough. That's a
There you
rough.
go.
That's a rough go.
I hate that. But yeah, no, I love. That's one of the things I love. more so than anything in fantasy. That's what kind of got me into fantasy literature and like in the culture.
Yeah, because it was
He-Man.
more fantasy than science fiction,
And,
really.
And I'm weird in this regard. I like Cringer more than Battle Cat.
More personality there.
Yeah, a little bit more personality.
Battle Cat didn't have much personality except for aggression.
He's all about being an alpha Chad tiger, and like Cringer is like he's got problems. He's got things
He's got
working
issues.
Through.
I don't know, He-Man.
Yeah. Was that Ortho?
That was Orko.
Orko.
Yeah, that was Orko.
I'm thinking about foot problems when I'm thinking about Orko. Yeah, but there you go.
Orko, I think the inspiration for the black mages from Final Fantasy.
I always get Orko and Snarf confused by what they'd say because I always put Orko in with the Thundercats. Yeah, and then I put Snarf. Lion-O! This foot won't fit in my asshole, Snarf.
I'm the comedic foil, Snarf.
I mentioned Ortho, so I had to go with a foot joke, so I had to go to Snarf.
He-Man had a comic book tie-in, little mini comic book that they started putting into the figures to give them some sort of a story.
Wasn't it Marvel?
No, before
or was it early Dark Horse?
I don't think it was like a named company that did the mini comic books. I think it might have been Marvel. Now that I think about it, after thinking about watching the toys that made us, I think Marvel did do those. But then they had the cartoon, and that was something.
Another one of my favorite toys of all time: Battle Damage, He-Man, and Skeletor, where like you would hit them and like. They were like dents in the armor and getting worse the more times you rattled into it. Same thing with Skeletor. I love
stuff like that. What do you feel about the cartoon though?
Oh, I enjoyed the cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon.
I want to say so Alan Oppenheimer was the guy who did Skeletor. Mm-hmm. He also was Falcor in the Neverending Story.
Oh,
that's cool.
That's rad.
He was not, from what I can tell, he was not Cobra Commander, even though they sound.
Who was
similar.
that guy? Who was?
I do not know. I'll have to look that up.
I will find such.
We have multiple unbuzzing, so I go. No, I loved the show. Like the show. Like again, it's exactly how it works. I would not want the toys without seeing the show. It's like, and I can take this home with me, and He-Man can be my friend.
And you could play with the toy while you're watching the show.
Yeah,
which is also a big draw.
Yeah, I think Tila is the reason why I like brunettes.
Oh, I mean that makes sense.
Have something to do with it.
Yeah. I think I was a Mary Jane guy for G.I. Joe. There's Mary Jane and there's Scarlet. Mary Jane was the I think she was the one with the short hair. She was the tomboy looking one.
I thought Scarlet was.
Scarlet had long.
She was the one with the long hair.
Yeah, you're right.
They both had a thing for the same guy. I think there was like a love triangle there.
I remember Scarlet.
I thought Flint was with Scarlet and Duke was with.
Well, I mean,
Lady J, not Mary Jane.
Lady J, my bad. Lady J.
Oh, you just stopped to strongly word email. Thank you.
No. Now we have two of them. One is it, you motherfucker, you should have got that right. And two, why did it take you so long to correct him?
I'm old.
I couldn't remember. Like I said, G.I. Joe is not my forte.
Not a break going into editing, but when's your 50th?
August 1st.
We got to plan something.
We definitely got to plan something.
What do you want to do? I'm derailing, but we're going to put this directly back on the tracks. What do you want to do on the 50th? Like games, videos?
I want to run a one-shot tabletop RPG.
Okay.
I don't know what.
You want to run it?
What now?
You want to run it?
I want to run it.
All right.
Okay.
How many people do you want at the table?
Up to 6.
Up to 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
18. I don't know.
18 people on the 5-0. Jody Kite runs 18 people into the Temple of Elemental Evil, done in Cypher system.
It'll definitely be the Cypher system.
Yeah, of course it will.
We figured we didn't even have to hear that. We knew.
By that time, maybe you guys will have your own books, but I have mine if you need it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, mine should be here within the next 2 or 3 days.
All right. So, any other thoughts on He-Man and what it did for you as a child?
It had a trapdoor in Castle Grayskull, and what I would always do is I would always get He-Man and Skeletor on the trap, and they're about to fight it out, and then they pull the lever, and Man-at-Arms kills them both. And Man-at-Arms using the military-industrial complex takes over all of Vidinia and makes sure everything is fine.
When I was 15 in 1987, I was really excited. Mm-hmm. Some of my friends were excited too. At 15, you wouldn't think you'd be able to tell like how terrible a film could be because you have no taste normally at that age. Mm-hmm. But when we saw Dolph Lundgren playing He-Man in the live-action Masters of the Universe film, everyone cringed visibly.
Did you just use that for cringer?
Totally use that for Cringer
There you go.
Pants.
Okay.
Mr. Cringer Pants.
Okay.
You know,
I love that movie.
I'm sure you do.
I love
Ironically,
Frank Langella in
Frank
that movie.
Langella's Skeletor is the greatest.
That
you
is
wouldn't
true.
think it.
I appreciate it more now for what it is.
Oh yeah, I can see back in the day.
But
that
here's
that's-
here's the thing I'm gonna say. If you are a young adult and you do not have a lot of money, nor do you get a steady allowance, and you spent money on something and it was bad, you would be angry for a long time about something in that situation. I mean,
Yeah.
even nowadays, if you spend $15 to go see a bad movie, that's a different situation altogether. Like, for example, I ironically like Jupiter Ascending. I also only paid $1 to rent it. I didn't pay $15 to see it in the theater. Otherwise, I would probably hate that fucking movie.
you got ripped off there, Jody. I just hate to tell you. But to each his own.
Anyway,
you should be mad about that dollar.
Yeah, I would be furious
I
over
still,
that.
I still state
I
the
would
claim
be writing the Wachowskis
that
trying
if-
to get that
if-
dollar
if-
That
back.
could have bought you almost a gallon of
If
water.
Ed Wood lived today, he would have been the one who directed that film.
Yeah,
as bad as it
probably.
was.
Yeah, probably.
But not to get too much off topic. But yes, the He-Man live action film.
If they had just focused on Eternia,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I can
Exactly.
imagine
was
being
about
a
to
kid
get into
at that time.
Look, when they get to, not only that, Jay, which is a very valid point, but right when they get to Earth, what was the little short dwarf-looking guy? Not dwarf, you know.
Oh no! I know it's because I think he's not Master at Arms, but to me he felt like he should have been Master
Yeah.
at Arms.
Yeah.
And the one who basically is the conduit to going from the real world
Right.
to Eternia all the time.
That guy, that character was like eating ribs. And, oh, this is delicious. I'm like, this is not He-Man.
Yeah.
This is as campy as He-Man was. This is not He-Man.
Wait a minute, maybe they've never had ribs in Eternia.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'd never had ribs before,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden someone gave me some ribs,
Right.
Yeah.
I will worship you
Yeah.
as my new god.
Well, I will say, like, I can imagine being a child at that time. Like, this was like I was barely born.
Right.
At this time, so I can imagine like being a child or being a kid, being a teenager, going
Right.
to these, going to the movie theater, wanting to see He-Man, and then it takes place in like the real world. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. There was a lot of misfires there.
But you know, the thing is, you know, making a whole fantasy world that costs money.
That is
And-
true.
And shooting in a suburb does not.
Well, I mean, they had sets though.
That's
The
why-
end of that movie,
that's
they
why
were
the season 2 of Star Trek Picard takes place across all of Los Angeles.
they
Yeah.
had their fight at the end of that movie between Skeletor and He-Man, and
Well, they
Skeletor's
could afford one set.
they had more than one set. They had two.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
had,
being a-
they,
they
had,
had
a
to.
Yeah.
they had a McDonald's.
Oh God!
They had a Domino's.
Yeah. And you thought in the Power Rangers movie when they go to Krispy Kreme a whole lot that was bad product placement. No, product placement happened in the 80s too. That's
It
how
did.
it
Oh,
started.
yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, no one was like, we've got to get back to the warp signal at McDonald's.
Yeah, that is
We got to
true.
slide through the slide at Play Place in order to get back to Eternia.
Yeah, watch ET and see how much people are drinking Pepsi and eating
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces
Yeah.
and shit like that.
There's
So,
a reason why that was the choice of a new generation.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
very
basically.
true. The choice of a new generation that had been already around for 30 years before that film came out.
Yeah.
Shh, we don't talk about that part. It's a
Pepsi,
new-
the choice
new
of the 1950s generation.
Yeah, yeah. WWF, the new generation.
The new generation.
The average age is like 33.
I think we're done with He-Man unless you have something else, Jay, to add to it before we move on.
Because Man at Arms could create the military-industrial complex and fix all of you goddamn eco-terrorist fascists.
Yeah, I will say like He-Man was, like I said, was always in my periphery. Like it wasn't anything that I was like
Yeah.
super.
I wasn't like super excited about it.
There
A
was
lot of
so-
those-
There
most-
was so much like for instance, like for me, G.I. Joe was a bit more than just in my periphery, but it wasn't my focus.
Right.
There was so much of it. Like I could see someone go something about Masks, Centurions,
Yeah.
like any of the 80s stuff that kind of aped off of like G.I. Joe's success as far as like a setting of like modern military kind of deal, or maybe even like futuristic or sci-fi militaristic kind of stuff. Like there was just stuff for everybody.
I
There
will-
literally was. They were throwing almost anything at the wall.
You mentioned Mask. I do want to touch on Mask before we get to the next thing because I think it ties in very nicely. Mask actually took two properties and basically melded them together because Mask, you had for one thing, like all the characters had cool masks they were wearing, and I can't remember what Mask stood for, but it was an acronym.
It was an acronym. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
But something Assault.
And the guys they fought also had an acronym.
They also had
too.
an
It was all
acronym too.
acronyms.
They all the characters looked cool.
Venom. It was Mask
Venom,
versus
Venom.
Venom, yeah. And
which comes out of what? A cobra.
Anyway, Mask, they had all these really cool vehicles too because the vehicles actually were two vehicles. One, like they had like a helicopter that shot out like a little jet ski kind of thing, and they had a tank that like opened up and shot out a Corvette and all these like different cool things or whatever. And the Mask toys actually were well made and go for a pretty nice penny. And the only thing that's sad about Mask is I think it only had one season. If it didn't have just maybe two, but it was very short run.
I had the van that when you hit a button, they had the plane inside of it that would take off and launch, and also had the AA guns as well.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I hated, and I think this goes, especially on the vehicle stuff, for all of this stuff, was the fact that the decals came separately. And even to this day, with as much decal work as I may do with the miniature painting,
Right.
that is some of the most annoying shit to put on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a
G.I.
big
Joe
thing.
also had that.
Yes,
That was
G.I.
a
Joe.
really, really
Yeah.
big thing in
In
the
fact,
80s and 90s.
in fact, I would go so far to say is one of the reasons why I think I got the Mask, and then it's like I was looking at it's like flag. Oh, the flag's cool, and then I just remembered. Wait a minute, the van had like 3 stickers, and I hated to put those on there. How many stickers is this? And I literally think it was like a newspaper's worth of stickers you had to put on the entire thing.
It's funny that you mentioned that it was only one season. That was a lot of those shows happened where if they didn't sell enough of the toys that they thought was a correct amount, you only got one season. That's why a lot of things that you remember at that time only ever had one season or 2 seasons.
Right.
They didn't go on forever.
There was a show called Robotics that had some of the coolest toys. It was like a construction toy where you could like put things together. It was like one of the first like plastic puzzle toys like Legos that actually introduced motors into it, and you can actually make the vehicles and things like that. But the show sucked, and it didn't. If the show sucked, it wasn't going to sell the toy, and the toys didn't do well. The show wasn't going to live long.
It was symbiotic, but I think it was more so did the TV show hit. And if
Right.
the TV show didn't hit, then the stuff didn't get
Yeah.
bought.
Right, a lot of it didn't make sense sometimes, depending on the show. There were other shows that were like did well in Canada, but didn't do well over here. Like Jason the Wheel Warriors actually did well in Canada. And there were a bunch of other shows that like we mentioned, Centurions, which had some interesting characters, but they couldn't really. The toys were really weird. You couldn't do really a whole lot with because it was basically just action figures with like a lot of like suction holes on them that you would like put stuff into. But speaking of Mask and things that would transform into other things, there was also the Transformers.
You should have. Thing of things that transform into things. The GoBots. You should have gone straight to GoBots.
Which GoBots came first? GoBots came out in 1981.
GoBots were also shit.
Yeah,
They were,
I
but
can't
they
tell you shit about GoBots.
But they did come
Flannel.
first.
Fuck the GoBots.
Oh God.
Fuck the GoBots.
They were very
And
stiff.
not sexually.
Yeah.
In a get rid of them.
The toys
You're
weren't
very
made
passionate
well.
about this.
I will tell you that the GoBot toys were not made
I've
well.
seen pictures and they do not.
They
look
were
like
not.
They were made
They
well.
were not made well.
Also, the GoBots sucked.
Also, the toys were very inexpensive and very small compared to the Transformers.
Yeah. So I was born in the late 80s, 1986. So by the time that I got to where I was actually like watching cartoons and stuff like that, it was really more into the 90s. So a lot of these things are in my periphery. And one of those is Transformers. Like, I haven't watched a whole lot of the original episodes, but I remember very vividly all the time I went to one of the 2 video stores that were in my very small hometown, and these were not like Blockbusters or anything like that. These
Mom
were
and
just,
pop.
These were mom and pop stores, and I would always want to rent the Transformers movie. So much so that my parents wouldn't want to go to that particular video store because they didn't want me to rent the Transformers movie and have to watch the Transformers movie again. Being a parent and having to have watched Monster House like 18 times in a row. Not too much of an exaggeration. It was at least like 4 or 5 in a row before my son would fall asleep. I get that now, and I apologize to my parents. But yeah, so I watched the absolute ever-living shit out of the Transformers movie, and that's where I got, like, even not really knowing who Optimus Prime is, just that little bit that you see him, I'm like, oh my fucking God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. He is so fucking cool. So yeah, a lot of my understanding of Transformers comes from that, and I would get a lot of some of the toys of the Transformers. I know, funny enough, our youngest person on the bus here, Ethan, also has a very good, decent relationship with Transformers. Funny enough,
Yes, a lot of my childhood upbringing was not really me finding things that I enjoyed, but me watching what my father enjoyed when he was growing up. And he watched G.I. Joe, he watched He-Man, Transformers, Danger Mouse, which I just now remembered was a thing.
oh wow.
But the one thing that stuck out the most was Transformers being able. It's a truck that transforms into a robot with a gun, with light swords, light axes. What could a child want even more? And just being able to play with the original Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Megatron.
He let you play with his original diecast toys?
My brother
Not
had
the original, but still those names.
so my brother is about
characters.
10 years was about 10 years older than me, and he had an original Optimus Prime.
Okay.
So I played the hell out of that. In fact, I don't think I did, but eventually, like, the trailer got broken. I lost the fists for Optimus Prime, so I just had the actual Optimus Prime body. But I remember playing the ever-living shit out of that.
And just being able to, like, be with my brother, just playing with Optimus Prime and Megatron fighting each other. And funnily enough, in the original Transformers show, the voice of Starscream by Christopher Collins also voiced Cobra Commander.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay,
bringing
that
it
makes
back.
that makes sense.
That makes a
sense.
whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and it was Peter Cullen was Optimus
Prime.
Prime, and Frank Welker was Megatron, and about a million other voices from your childhood.
Frank Welker was Freddy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I want you to put that in your brains. In the left side of your brain, I want Freddy from Scooby-Doo, and on the right side, Megatron. Now jam them in the middle of your brain. Same person.
Yeah.
Hey, gang. Let's kill Optimus Prime.
But this so this love of Transformers, like, led me to what was the successor of Transformers in the 90s, which was Beast Wars, which was basically Transformers, but instead of, like, cars and vehicles, they were animals. So you had Megatron, but he was a T-Rex. He transformed into a T-Rex. And you didn't have Optimus Prime, you had Optimus Primal. And in the lore, they're actually, like, all different people. They're like different sects of the. It gets weird. They actually, like, discover, because they go into, like, the prehistoric times, and they actually see the crashed Ark that had all the Autobots in it. Like I said, it gets really, really weird. But this was where I bought most of my Transformers toys, was Beast Wars toys. So you had, like, Optimus Primal, who was a gorilla, and he had flip up missiles that shot off of his back, and you had Megatron. One of his hands was a T-Rex head, and you could fill it up with water and squirt water out.
Those are always the fun ones because they annoy the shit out of people.
Yeah, yeah. The big ones were always ones that I got. Like, those were like Christmas toys, but then I would always annoy my parents into getting me, like, the smaller ones when I got there. But then later on, they had, like, here's two animals smashed together, so you get a scorpion that has that its tail is the head of a cobra. Quick Strike, still one of the really
That's
cool.
some Junji Ito shit.
Yeah. But yeah, you get and then as they go on, they get more and more like less animalish and more like metallic and different things like that. They do. They do different things, and like they can transform into they have a vehicle mode, and then they also have a robot and a beast mode. But yeah, this is where I was like really, and the story was actually pretty interesting. Like I said, it was like a prehistoric Earth, and there's some really, really like heartfelt episodes because there's one where a character Dinobot, he starts off as a bad guy, and he switches sides very like in the first episode, and he's like a very honorable warrior, and he actually he literally sacrifices himself to save like these pre-humans that the bad guys, the Predacons, they're not is what they're called in this, to save these humans. And it's like a very actually heartfelt episode because he dies, like he comes back, but it's not really him. It's more of like a shade of him. And they do some they do a fake out episode where Megatron kills Optimus Primal. But yeah, this was one of the things that from my childhood that was probably the toy that I had the most of.
I can tell,
and
man.
played a lot.
Really compassionate about. Passionate about, not compassionate about. Passionate about.
Yeah.
And if I had a gun up next to like Optimus Primal right now, you would fight me for it.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
there you go,
Probably.
exactly.
I want to say something about Beast Wars real quick, briefly, because the toys looked really cool. I will say that. I was like quite a bit older when it came out. For me, though, the show, I tried to watch it, but I couldn't.
Don't go back and watch it because
the reason why I couldn't watch it is because it was their besides Reboot. Reboot was a show that was completely computer generated, but
it was like the first computer generated show, I believe.
You could suspend your disbelief of how bad the actual animation and graphics were because they were in a computer. Beast Wars, however, a whole different story, and it looks like a muddled mess.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up, but to be honest, most of these cartoons don't hold up. When you go
especially
back.
the early computer generated ones.
That reasoning is why I absolutely despise the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. Because
that
movie was great until you got to the Zord fight, and everything up to this point was mostly practical effects. So there's some CGI with some of Ivan Ooze's stuff, but when you get to the end and it's that fucking horrible CGI, like mid 90s CGI in this real fucking world. Like, you don't even get near the Uncanny Valley. You just fell off the Uncanny Mountain.
It was better when two guys in rubber suits were hitting each other with sticks.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Going back now, I remember seeing very recently some like shots from that movie, and I was like, oh god, that does not hold up
That actually
at all.
reminds me also, just to touch on these real quick, the first Transformers live action film, the Michael Bay film.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf, Megan.
Right. The actual transformation scenes are hard to fucking watch.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on, you can't even see what's happening.
It's to distract you.
Yeah,
but they learned from that. Like, even the movies didn't get progressively better. The actual parts where they were transforming actually looked better. And Bumblebee to me is the best live action Transformers film.
Yeah.
Yes.
By far.
That's just me.
I still get chills thinking about going to the first live action one and hearing Peter Cullen's voice as Optimus Prime.
That was also
the
very
first
good.
one is not.
It's not awful.
It's not as bad as all the other ones
I
up
like
to Bumblebee.
I think it's a good movie.
I think you can say it's a decent movie.
It's decent. It's really
It just
especially
the more,
comparably.
when you continue to watch those movies, they got worse and worse, and it kind of makes you forget that the first one wasn't that bad.
The first one was good. The second one was okay.
Yeah,
and then
I think
after
the
that,
second one was horrid.
Well, it was, but they start going hard.
But John Turturro was positioned right under the Decepticon's balls.
Yeah,
I mean, like, what's wrong
Devastator
with that?
has balls that are wrecking balls.
Has testicles.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's a really funny joke.
That was
really funny.
Anyway, Bumblebee was really good.
Bumblebee is great. Watch Bumblebee. Bumblebee is actually a really good movie.
I liked the soundtrack. I thought it was really cool. I was hoping for them to continue doing stuff, but I mean, I
think that I think they're actually making a Transformers with the Beast Wars stuff. They're getting into that. I do not know who is directing it or if it has any more connection to Bumblebee than it does to anything.
I need a Grimlock standalone.
Bumblebee
I
did
need
so
a
well.
Grimlock standalone movie.
I need
goddamn
a
it.
Soundwave standalone movie.
I will say,
Soundwave was my favorite Transformer.
Mine too, Brady.
I will
cool.
say of all
Grimlock would eat Soundwave.
Grimlock was good too. I really liked him, and
Grimlock
he was great
cool.
in the Transformers movie.
He was
Grimlock. Yeah.
Me Grimlock, me king.
I will
was
say
talking.
Beast
Yeah.
Wars is definitely what I would imagine Grimlock should have been introduced. Like, it is primitive dinosaur land with robots. That sounds perfect for Grimlock. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. No, that's
Yeah,
fine.
the lore of the Dinobots is really weird. Don't look into it. But yeah, like I said, Beast Wars is one of those that like it does not hold up at all. Like if you go
Right.
back and watch it, like it is really hard to
Well,
watch.
even in the original series, like the original, you look at the original series, there are memorable Transformers like Autobots, and there are memorable Decepticons, and there are forgettable ones.
Oh yeah. Well, it was all of this was we have to introduce these new people because we have a new toy.
Right.
In fact, one of the things that I realized when I a long time ago I bought like a special edition DVD re-release of the Transformers movie because I have a lot of nostalgia for it, and I think that it is actually a decent movie that is
it's
watchable.
pretty good, yeah.
But there was a section, there was a little special feature called The Death of Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
This was a very important thing in my childhood. Even though I didn't really watch the show all that much, I knew that Optimus Prime dying was important, and Optimus Prime dying was a big deal because you usually didn't see that in cartoons or anything like that.
Even cartoon films, yeah.
Nobody really died. The bad guys didn't even really die.
You
No.
hardly see the namesake character of any franchise die.
But Optimus Prime died. And then I watched this, and the person who they're talking about who helped make the film, one of the people, said, "Oh, yeah, we were just killing all these characters because we had to make way for the new wave of characters. We really didn't think too much about that." And it broke me. It hurt. It devastated me.
Here's my problem with the death of Optimus Prime. Later on, Ultra Magnus gets ripped to pieces, and then it's the junk planet, and then the junk
Yeah.
Autobots just build him back
Oh, yeah,
together, and it's wow.
That logic doesn't hold up,
Right.
but as a child, you don't really think about that.
Yeah, no.
But then
Oh
I've
no,
also
I did. I was in the movie theater saying, "Why can't they do that to Optimus?"
eventually I thought of that, but I didn't at the time. But then I also talked to other people, but I said that wrong. I didn't talk to other people. I have heard other people who made the Transformers movie actually talk about, no, we understood that this was going to be a big deal and for kids, so we wanted to make it an important thing, so we actually put some thought
I
into
think
it.
the writers definitely, but the marketers, no.
Yeah, I
mean,
think
it
it was
just depends
probably
on
the
what
marketer.
angle-
I would have to go back to watch that.
What angle are you coming at?
Yeah,
this
I would
from?
have to go back and watch that and see who was the one who was actually saying that.
I mean, hell, Orson Welles went to, I'm doing a movie about where one robot eats other robots.
Yeah.
like he literally had no connection to it other than just
Oh
provide his
man,
voice.
that introduction where you first hear Orson Welles speak and he talks
Yeah.
to Megatron, that is a great scene.
Yeah.
Period. Just that birth of Galvatron.
Yeah.
There were other toy lines. Some of them are based off of older properties that existed beforehand, before this lift even happened on
This
these.
is our buffet portion of the topic.
Right.
So, yeah,
I want to talk about the Batman toys. I think they were advertised during Batman the Animated Series. They had their own toy lines, and they advertised.
Didn't the Super Friends have their own toy line?
They did.
They had those. They were more like dolls where they had like
Okay.
the felt. I remember seeing
Okay.
because you see like a Aquaman has like
Right.
oven mitt looking.
They
gloves.
did, but I want to say the Super Friends came out right at the tail end before the lift happened.
Right,
So the
right.
toys were out, but they weren't advertised during the actual show.
Right.
Yeah.
But those lines didn't exist. I mean, the same thing goes for a lot of Marvel toys. The toys would exist the same time the show was out, maybe, but they wouldn't be advertised during the show.
Yeah, not until like the X-Men show and like the Spider-Man show and stuff like that.
If we
That was in
don't-
the 90s.
If we don't bring this group up, we're going to get pilloried. Teenage Mutant.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That was another big one. Like
That was
that
another
was
big one.
one of the really big ones. It was Beast Wars, and then when I was younger, it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the album.
Oh, nice.
We're the Turtles. You can count on us.
If you wanna
When
get
they
a,
were live action rock
right.
and roll.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
yeah.
If you want to get some real good insight on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, watch The Toys That Made Us on Netflix. If you have Netflix, it's a really good backstory. A lot of us probably already know this already, but the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was originally a independent, mature comic book.
Oh, yeah.
That came out like 2-ish, maybe 3 years before the animated series got made.
I think Laird and Eastman, and they did it as a smash together of Daredevil and the X-Men. In particular, as part of their like coming together, so Daredevil gets blinded and then he gets superpowers. And this thing, the guy there's still chemicals. The dude still gets blinded, except he's blind, and the chemicals go into the sewer, and that's where they touch four young turtles, and they're well, actually no, not that's it, he's actually different in that. Splinter's actually a little bit different in that, but yeah, it's like
the independent comic was like away from anything else. So.
As, Daredevil
they tied it in, I think, later when they redid the comic book. But the black and white comic book really didn't go into much of the backstory
and
of
all
how
of them had red bandanas.
Yeah,
they all had the same bandanas, and I think that was the only color in the comic book.
Daredevil fought the hand, so the turtles fought the foot.
Yeah.
Daredevil had his mentor was named Stick, so their mentor was named Splinter.
That's when the Marvel took the property, when the cartoon started. Before that, like I said, it was an independent thing. It was its own thing, like Dark Horse or whatever, like its own. Like two guys made it. That,
Laird and Eastman,
Right. But
Daredevil fought Michael Clark Duncan, and the Turtles fought Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil.
Casey Jones, which was a villain and then became an anti-hero pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Shout out to James Avery.
James Avery, oh man, yeah.
Uncle Phil and the voice of the Shredder.
The voice of the Shredder, man. That's a big part of my childhood.
And then there's Krang, who I can sort of do a Shredder. Bring me my pierogies.
Krang is
Big Daddy Krang needs his potato lump pancakes.
Krang is what they call from the original Happy Days show, jumping the shark.
He was in episode fucking 1.
Was Krang in episode 1?
Yes, he was very early.
Oh, okay.
He was
I don't remember. My
early.
memory is shit. Apparently,
I watched the show a lot, but I also had a couple of videotapes that had like the first like couple of episodes on there, and then I had another one that I got from Pizza Hut that had another weird episode. So I watched those episodes. I watched like the first 2 episodes or the first 2 or 3 episodes a lot. Yeah, he was very early in it.
Well, there you go.
He's the guy who gave Shredder the mutagen.
Okay.
Built him the Technodrome.
Built the Technodrome. Yeah,
right.
he's very early in there.
Gotcha.
I think eventually no, it's pretty early on when he's like growing in size too, and they have to fight him too, right?
Yeah. No, like, it's like Shredder, where's my body? Like I'm referencing with the
That's pretty good.
Him getting the body was a little bit later. He was just like the brain
thing
on a little like tricycle looking thing.
Which makes like his brain was removed from his Dimension X body, but he's still sentient and has arms.
Yeah, it's really weird.
What?
It's really, really weird. But
Shredder.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was one of those where I had a lot of those toys, but I always got like the weird guys. I never had like a basic one of the 4 turtles. If I got a 4 turtles, it was like, okay, here's Leonardo in an old school Diving Bell suit, or here's Raphael, but he's also a major league pitcher. But then
Donatello was their excuse to be able to give you 15 different versions of each of the turtles because it's some other. I had the Raphael that had a little wind up back, only you had to put like a weird fucking like trash can lid on it, and then you would like hit a button and he would spin around.
Yeah. And I also had like all the weird like side characters. Some of them that you didn't even see in the. Some of them you were in the cartoon, but some of them you weren't. Like I had a dude who was like half dragon, and I had a dude who was like half elephant. And then of course I had like Mondo Gecko.
Yep.
I had the was it Ace Duck? Isn't that what it was? Ace something. He had like the bomber jacket and the old school flight hat and things like that.
I'll say something here. It's going to shock every person who's on this show. I didn't have any one of the frogs.
Oh wow!
Oh damn!
Whoa,
That's crazy.
I know.
Wow.
What the fuck?
I don't think I had any of those either. I didn't have either of those.
They
guys.
made the frogs, right?
Yeah, you can get the
Rasputin, the mad
it
frog.
Was it Neko makes? You can get a 2-pack of 2 of the frogs.
Okay.
All right.
That might be something you might want to look at.
All right. Quick question.
Yes.
Which one's the favorite turtle?
Oh, good one. For me, Michelangelo.
Raphael.
I asked the question.
Oh, mine is Leonardo.
I would have to say Donatello.
Oh, Jesus
shit.
Christ. Now, video game wise, always Donatello.
Mm-hmm.
Length
Yeah.
over strength.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can just bang, just like I can attack from 3 feet away and not get hurt. Okay, fine.
I remember playing the original, not the original, not the NES, but like the Super NES, the first beat 'em up for
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Right,
Turtles
right.
with my brother.
Oh, wait. Okay, so the arcade game was TMNT2 on the NES, and then it was
Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time, which is
I
Turtles
played Turtles.
4.
I played Turtles in Time a lot too.
Yeah.
I played that more by myself, but I remember specifically like playing with my friend. I remember like the first level was like you were fighting over like a bridge, and then the boss at the end of that was Baxter Stockman.
Okay, that's Turtles in Time. That is Turtles in Time. Yes, it is. That is Turtles in Time. That there was only of those Teenage Mutant Turtles 4, Turtles in Time.
Then there
two.
was another one that I was playing too.
Yeah.
But I remember Turtles in Time because I remember you eventually go back to the like the Wild West and shit like that.
That's
and I
really
remember
Turtles in Time.
I remember that was as
Bury
far
my
as
shell at Wounded Knee.
that's as far as I ever got in that game before running out of lives.
So there were also the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. The first
yeah.
one was pretty good, and that's where we stopped.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
I mean,
2 was
I was
good,
young
too.
enough that I was
Okay
fine
with all of them.
all of them
Yeah.
because
One
you
and-
got more mutants.
One
Like that
and 2
was
are
the,
2 is great. Tokan Razor, like that. Those are great. Super Shredder, I like that.
Was 3 the one with the Vanilla Ice?
no, that was 2.
That was 2.
That was 2.
2. If I watched it today, I probably wouldn't like it, but I do remember liking 2 a whole lot because it was more of a kiddie movie, and I
Right.
was still very young.
Right.
I remember not liking 1 as much because it was a little bit more mature, if I'm not mistaken. And then 3, they went back in time to ancient Japan, and that was really, really weird.
Yes,
Because sometimes they got
that one literally makes no sense.
yeah, that
Right.
one was really, really dumb. That was a jumping the shark moment.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And then we also had the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
The reboot, the first reboot.
That first reboot was actually very interesting. They changed a lot of lore, but it was very cool.
I very much enjoyed the first one. The second one, they could have done without it. but
You're talking about the one where Shredder is Kang, right? Basically,
no, in the second one, Kang was his own person.
Krang, not Kang.
Krang.
Dang,
Krang, yeah.
I was thinking of Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I know. I was like,
I was talking with somebody about that earlier
And-
because they were doing Marvel Champions.
A good amount of my friend base say that the Shredder in the reboot was absolutely ass. I liked the way they took Shredder in the.
I didn't watch any of that, nor have I seen any of the newer movies. I think the last movie I've heard was okay.
the animated movie where Sarah Michelle Gellar played April O'Neil. I dug that one.
Was that the one that was just called TMNT?
It was TMNT.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard that
I've
one
heard a
was
lot
good.
of good things about
Mhm.
that.
I just never
That
got
was a
around to
really
watching
good
it.
movie. Like if you haven't, I would highly recommend hunting that down and having a look at that. Let's do like a rapid fire. To
I
end this.
want to, real quick. But I don't want to skim over some properties that we might not have experienced for 2 reasons. One, we were not young enough, possibly, depending on who I'm talking about.
I was not thought of.
You were not thought of, nor were we the demographic they were aimed for. The first one I want to mention real quick is Jimmy the Holograms. There was actually a figure line for that. That was Hasbro's answer to Mattel. There's
Hang on.
Me and my friends are Gem Girls. Gem is my name.
I did watch the
Exciting
cartoon.
adventure, fashion, and fame. Once you're a gem girl, you're never the same. Come on,
like
and
the,
be a
at that
gem
point,
girl.
yeah,
this
Gem is
early
my
stuff.
name.
Yeah.
Like one of my first like cartoon crushes was Gem.
Yeah,
just
I get
was.
that. I get
Mine
that.
was Ariel.
Regarding
Yeah.
Gem,
Seashell bikinis.
Oh, don't you feel so fucking better than me, you piece of shit?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I want to say that they actually started a Gem movie.
Oh,
so
there's,
like
and
the-
I've heard it
the-
was.
Let me
It, like super flop.
let me tell you
it
what it flopped on.
flopped.
It made $16,000 on opening weekend.
Ooh,
And that was pre-COVID numbers.
yeah,
They spent 1 week on advertising and knew.
yeah.
But I've watched when it came on Netflix. I was like, I want to try and power through it. I watched 30 minutes of it and I couldn't take it.
Oof.
It was that boring.
22% on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.1 on IMDb.
Uh-huh.
It sucked
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, it
So
was
there
really,
were
really bad.
there were also a lot of properties that were aimed at younger females. Care Bears was one. Yeah,
I did watch Care Bears. a little bit.
I did.
I don't
watched.
think Care Bears was just girls. I think it was just for younger
Yeah.
children.
Well, I mean, depending on how your age too.
No, I will say I grew up watching Care Bears.
Yeah.
with
How
my
old were
sister.
you when you were watching Care Bears?
4 or 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you were 4 or 5. There were girls that were watching that at 12. Were you watching Care Bears at 12 though?
Probably not.
Okay, that's my point. But there were Care Bears, there were movies, there was animated stuff for Care Bears, there was all the plushes you could ever want.
One large one, depending on where you stand with them, My Little Pony.
I was
Like,
about to say My Little Pony.
They have a TV show. They
We're
have.
gonna mention little.
That's
Yeah.
that's dangerous ground.
We're not going to go into
We're not
anything.
talking about the '80s My Little Pony.
We're
not-
talking about the 80s My Little Pony, where all the My Little Ponies looked exactly the same, with the
Yes.
exception of the color of
Yeah.
whatever the toy was.
and the little tattoo that they had on their butt.
And let me tell you, that out of all the Toys That Made Us episodes is the most drama-filled fucking episode.
Oh, wow.
There
That's
is
cool.
some backstabbing going on with who owns the intellectual property to that toy line.
Wow.
Oh shit!
Oh, yeah.
So Smurfs. Let me throw that out there.
Smurfs didn't really have a toy line, did it?
I don't remember.
I feel
think
there
they have
was.
one.
I think there were toys for it, but not in the sense that we've been talking about.
Yeah,
where it was
where
like
that it was
geared to-
advertised
yeah.
during.
I think that might even be one of the reasons why I liked Smurfs kind of as a child, but I wasn't like big on Smurfs.
There was also some really terrible video games based off the Smurfs property. Mainly,
I stand that the Smurfs ColecoVision game is one of the reasons why I like video games. I played that very early
That's
on.
cool.
would you like to walk into a fence post and die immediately?
Yeah, that's what would happen. It was great.
Yeah, no.
Never
You
played
have
it,
to-
so I can't
There's
tell.
a giant skull at the end you have to jump on, and then you have to, in order to save
Smurfs
Lady
had
Smurf.
Smurfs had such a good run that they decided to make another show that was like Smurfs but underwater, and it was
Oh
called
yeah,
Snorks.
Snorks.
Snorks. I remember Snorks.
Did they have a TV show for the original Trolls dolls?
No,
I
They
think
had
that I think
something.
that came after.
that came way
That came
way
after. It wasn't.
And honestly, I think Trolls begets Brats.
I think Trolls
Yeah.
started Trolls. I remember seeing Trolls in the late 80s or early 90s, and they didn't start getting like shows until like 10, 15, 20
Yeah,
years later.
Because I remember seeing them growing up, but I've never seen like an animated TV show with them. In
I'll
it.
tell you something really insane as far as like intellectual properties go. There was a toy line in the 70s called Mego. They made everything. They made figures for everything. At one point, they had a license for Marvel and DC in the same year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That would've been
Fucking
cool.
It's fucking nuts.
Well, I mean, WizKids had it effectively.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, if you heard my ringtone off of my phone right now, that is the Zordon beep. We talked about it very briefly. Mighty Morphin
gotta-
Power
we
Rangers.
gotta mention
We
it.
have to.
Yeah.
That's true.
To me, this is the capstone of it. 'cause
That's the very
that
end
to
of
me
it.
that is the beginning and the end as
Right.
far as the golden era goes.
Advertising the toy while showing the show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't a cartoon, but that's okay. We can still go into it.
It was
What-
played
it still
on
ties
with
in.
cartoons.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a cartoon. It was a live action.
It still
television
ties into
series.
the toy advertising
But
side of things.
like-
So
but and specifically for that
Right.
reason, yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, find me a theme song for a children's show that slaps as hard
right,
as the Power Rangers theme song.
it's metal as fuck.
On, go for it.
It has to be up there. The '90s X-Men theme song.
90s X-Men theme song.
All
All right, so
right.
all right, if you're with us on Spotify, that is the poll this week. What slaps harder, X-Men 90s or Mighty Morphin
Now,
Power
the Mighty
Rangers?
Morphin Power Rangers slaps hard, pretty, but I think that one's definitely
I
up
think
there
that's
too.
a valid
Yeah.
question. I disagree with you if you would put it above it. But I don't hate you for mentioning that one. Like that to me is a solid silver.
Yeah. I will listen to that one all the time.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I watched the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
watched the
was
shit out of it.
I was
Yeah.
I was a
watched
full
it.
adult when that show came out.
See,
so.
I couldn't give one rat fuck about the people. Just give me that fucking Megazord, baby.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't have
the Pink Ranger though.
yeah
Which one? Amy
The-
Jo Johnson or
Amy
the
Jo
Amy Jo
Johnson.
Johnson.
The Australian girl was up there too. I think in the show her name was Kat, but I
Kat,
cannot
it was
remember
Kat,
her
it was
real
Kat.
her real
Yeah, and
character's name.
We apologize, man.
But yeah, I had a couple of the Power Rangers figures where they were the ones where you flipped them and they would have their regular head and then they would have their actually
Right.
morphed head,
Yeah.
the actual helmet.
Yep.
But yeah, mostly what I had of Power Rangers was the Zords. I didn't really get the Zords until we got to like the Ninja Zord and the Shogun Zord.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, like Christmas, that was the main thing that I asked for was let me have one or two of these Zords.
Yeah.
I have to retroactively mention Voltron
Yeah, we can't. We at least have to
because we
that.
mentioned Power Rangers.
You know what? I don't consider Voltron in this. I
Really?
never felt Voltron was trying to sell me.
Yeah, Voltron,
toys.
since it was
Voltron
a
solid
That's true.
story.
They had a toy line, but they didn't
a lot of
advertise
the
it
things
during
that
the show. I don't think.
a lot of the things that were brought over from Japan had a toy line, but it wasn't there to necessarily sell
right.
those
That's very
toys.
true. That's
Yeah.
very true.
I think without Voltron, you don't have the Power Rangers.
No.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
100%,
Well,
100%.
yeah. If you don't have Voltron, you don't
I
have
remember when
like
Power
those
Rangers came out. I'm
Sentai shows.
like, "Where's my Voltron?"
Oh no! The Sentai shows go back to the like early 70s.
1971.
The
Yeah,
early
like-
the Shentai shows predate Voltron.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
My
by
bad.
about a decade.
Okay.
Like the Power Rangers that we know. I think that was like season 14 or 15 of Super Sentai.
Okay.
late
yeah.
late 70s, early 80s. That's why you see like the grainy exterior differences between the shots of like the actual fights versus the kids hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, another reason why you never see the kids without their helmets on in the entire first season.
Yeah.
And they reused quite a lot of those fights between the putties over and over
Oh,
again
yeah.
for the first three
Well, it's
seasons.
one of those as a child, like you don't
No,
ever notice
you don't
that.
notice
like
that.
you never.
Well, they used different camera shots
was like a very-
to make it look different, I'm sure.
it was
I
a
will
very
say
cool
that-
feat.
I was
actually,
saying, why is it like? Why is there always a dust storm when they're fighting? Like in my brain, that was kind of how I think I resolved that. But yeah,
Fun fact, something I was looking up on. One of the later seasons, I want to say it's Power Rangers in Space. The Titanium Ranger is the very first like Americanized Power Ranger because it wasn't in the original Super Sentai.
Well, I
show.
want to say that near the end of the first run of the Power Rangers, before they end the Z arc, that they were actually implementing shooting actual fights for that.
yeah, I think
at
all of the
very end.
stuff for the Alien Power Rangers.
Oh yeah, they started
if I'm not
shooting their
mistaken,
own.
like that was their own stuff because it was like a filler in between.
It was
basically a
cheaper. It
filler
was
in
cheaper for
between.
them to make it than it was for them to rent it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
at
called
that
them
time.
kids. All those actors were like in their 20s when that show
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Power Rangers.
Saved by the Bell with Voltron.
Yeah,
Saved by the Bell with
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
That's very true. Well, on that note, I think our main topic is pretty much winding down to a close.
Where is the bus?
I think the bus is slowing down to the stop.
Oh my God! They're whispering to one another.
I see that they
don't
are.
know we are.
Is there? Is
Oh,
there
I like how y'all how
Yeah.
we're trying to do things smoothly and keep things running, and y'all.
No, I'm concerned.
Super
I said
hard.
slow. I said slowing down to a stop.
Yeah, I'm
I was just-
concerned.
no, I was just making sure
I'm
that-
super concerned that you have secrets that this side of the table doesn't have.
Yeah, Ethan. Secrets don't keep friends, and friends don't keep secrets.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah,
something
he's
you would
saying
like
I
to
have
share with the rest of the
secrets.
class, Ethan?
What's the secret, Ethan?
Well,
Oh, we were almost not going to be a 2-hour episode, but
Yeah.
then we can't just go on. No, I was just making sure that Ethan didn't have something that he wanted to talk about because he is of a slightly different generation
That is
than
true.
we are.
That is true.
I see in the distance. You know what? 2 minutes. Go nuts on Bakugan.
Bakugan, in my opinion, is an attempt of making another Pokemon clone by Japan. They somehow miraculously succeeded very well in America, to which they mass-produced Bakugan toys, which the premise is giant beings like dragons, minotaurs, mermaids for some reason, dragons being kept in orbs that can only be deployed in metallic places. And the toys were legit orbs that opened up on magnets, and the cards were also magnets, and it was a playing card. It was something I enjoyed as a kid. Seeing now with our past discussions, none of you three would understand.
Did they advertise that toy during the cartoon?
Yes, heavily.
Okay.
I think more in Ethan's time that it was here is a cartoon for a game.
Right.
Like
And-
this is around the time where you also have like Yu-Gi-Oh and what's the
And
other one?
Pokemon.
Pokemon started
and-
in the-
Kaijudo. All of these card games now have
Right.
or card games or / other kinds of games.
And-
I think
They allowed the first season of the show to finish out before they started making the actual
Toy
toys.
line?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, it sort of qualifies in that
No,
way.
absolutely. No, I think of it honestly like as a cross between Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. The way
I think
kind
the
of
only-
That's basically what it was. That
Yeah, that's
basically seems
definitely a
what it
good way.
was.
I think
It
the only
is.
difference is like in the 80s, they advertised every commercial break for the toy lines that we were talking about
And
earlier.
Yeah, it's a
And
different
the
it's a
local
different
news.
era when it comes to
What's that, Jay?
and the local news. It'd be like, you can own all these fine Transformers at your local Kmart.
They're
Circle
like,
K.
Santa's gonna be at the local mall this weekend.
Yeah, it's no, and then it'd be like, coming up on the news, 5 people murdered in a horrible accident.
On that note,
Well, something I wanted to bring up really, really quick that I just realized that made me feel super, super old. I have a nephew who also was really into Bakugan. What year did you graduate, Ethan?
Like high school?
Yes,
I graduated 3 years ago, 2019.
2019.
like right before COVID happened.
Yes.
You were the reason we were all having to. No,
I think my nephew is either around your age or maybe a little bit older, and that makes me feel super fucking old.
Despite you guys referring to me as the young one
And the
No,
widow,
no.
and the widow baby.
and a widow
he's a
baby.
widow.
The Young
baby.
Ones was a British TV show from the
No,
early 80s.
no,
No.
Pull it into the station.
Pull it into the station.
It's actually really
Shit.
good.
It is very good, but no,
Yeah.
it's off message.
It's only 12 episodes. All right, so
We're only
So that's like
12
18
episodes.
British seasons,
Wait a
right?
minute, we're
Yeah.
only 12. We last longer than the young ones. There
that's
we go.
very, very true.
Okay.
They ended the show with the bus going over a cliff and they all exploded in it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
It's a comedy. All right, so I guess we were wrapping it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fearology is a podcast on Anchor, and it
We're
is
very
hosted
bad at
by
this part.
JL Kite.
That's right.
Not Jody Kite.
Nope.
They're
Nope.
two indistinct and separate people.
Yes.
They're two
But-
completely different.
Follow the history of horror through one man's deserted eyes, as his eyes deserted his head.
Like two pieces of pie.
He watches films like a Zatoichi. Don't ask how, but he will give you his questions, comments, and details on all sorts of things horror, not just in movies. Jody, what did JL speak in the last episode that was recorded?
The last episode was recorded, I think, with minus me, the other travelers that are here this
Yeah,
evening.
Jody unfortunately couldn't make it
No,
for that one.
I think Julius McCarthy was on that one.
Oh, Julius.
Yeah, Julius
Orange
McCarthy.
Julius
Orange
McCarthy?
Julius McCarthy, yes. Along with Ethan Tanner and Bertie Divis.
Well, if you actually listen to the episode, I think that the actual names are spoken during that episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty
and that
certain.
might
Something like
contradict
that.
a little bit
Unless
of what
I'm
you're
completely
saying.
disassociating, I'm pretty sure I was there.
Available on Anchor and Spotify.
Yeah,
It's
I
Fearology.
think y'all talked about K horror and
some-
J horror.
K horror and J horror, yeah,
Yeah.
which is Japanese horror and Korean,
Korean
horror
horror.
for
Yeah,
all
or
of you
Kool-Aid-
noobs out
Yeah,
there.
or Kool-Aid horror and Julian horror.
Jesus Christ.
Kevin Shelton
See, the Orange Julius
and
joke had
Jared
already been
Hubbard hosts a podcast called Silence Your Cell Phones. They talk about movies and tell you whether or not you should see them, and also streaming shows. And they also have a YouTube channel, and they do stuff all the time. You should check them out on all the platforms.
The YouTube show is a live recording of Silence Your Cell Phones. Also in July, late July, possibly early August, you might be dealing with a crossover with us and them. Don't know.
Ooh.
Don't know.
Ah.
Just something I want to put in everybody's brain.
It's just a little tease for you.
Yeah, possibly. And it might also feature whiskey and wrestling. Whiskey and wrestling, our good friends Jason Holder and Michael Hill, they talk about whiskeys and they talk about wrestling across various different titles, AEW, WWE. Those are all the titles.
Those are all the titles.
What about New Japan, Impact,
The
Ring of Honor,
Evolve?
Nobody can afford that goddamn subscription. so none of us
CZW.
watch
Yeah,
it.
no,
New
no.
Combat
Japan.
Zone Wrestling,
give them a listen
Frontier
to.
Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling.
The NWA.
Diamond Championship Wrestling.
No.
Brian Cage will be at DCW. Someone needs to go up to him. Hey, how'd you let Ricky Starks beat you like that?
Yeah, we don't want to be punched. Have you seen Brian Cage? He's like a fucking tree trunk.
That's why we need to get I was going to bring our studio audience into this, but I don't want to see her get punched by Brian Cage.
No,
that would be terrible.
That would be awful.
That would be
That'd
terrible.
be terrible.
Yeah, tune into Whiskey and Wrestling when they talk about Wardlow versus the judicial system.
The judicial system.
You almost got it out. That's
He
good.
almost got it. That was.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
repeat what
You know
it
what?
said because it could have been bad.
No, it's 6 out of 10. Not bad work. Needs work, but it was a good attempt.
And hey, if you're ever in the Gaucher area and you want to get a board game or some card games, come on down to McNarb Gaming, who the owner Greg is allowing us the great pleasure of recording in this studio. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Gregory.
So yeah, if you want any
Brady,
kind
pick something on the shelves out there that someone should buy.
of shit. Shit.
Trigen.
I was just talking about this with somebody today. The game Cash and Guns is a game where it's the end of the heist and you are all trying to split the money, but you all have guns, so you're all trying to get the most money. So you're pointing guns at each other and shooting people. It's much more lighthearted than it really sounds. But yeah, it's a good party
It's
game.
also more cutthroat than it
It is
sounds,
very
strangely,
cutthroat.
at the same time.
Yeah, it's a great party game.
There you go.
So
and you can
yeah,
get that at McNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi.
yes.
Well, for travelers on the omnibus, I'm Jody Kite.
Wait, I have
Right,
to drink
right.
something disgusting.
No, no.
Do
Hand
you
me that
really?
melon rush.
What the
Oh.
fuck?
Hand me that melon rush.
God damn it.
On
Oh,
another,
we've been subjugated to it. Now he's going to
Yeah.
subjugate himself to it.
you're about
This
to.
doesn't smell bad.
Uh-huh.
You're about.
Two out of the 4 people at this table don't. I've never had it, even though I've bought it for all of them.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
Okay. Okay.
He's chugging
He's
it.
chug-
Oh, don't
chug-
chug the
That is-
Mountain Dew.
No.
That is a terrible idea. I'm glad he's
I'd
doing
much
that at the end of the show.
I'd
though.
much rather
that's
him
good.
do this than the pickle juice again.
His eyes are really
Yeah.
wide right now.
On a hot take.
Do you apologize for subjecting us to that now?
Thanks for that.
I'm James McCarthy.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
I'm Brady Davis.
I've been your host this episode, Jody Kite, and we will see you next time. Good e-
Where there may be dun conflict.
Oh.